women will have a C-section, but most of them are never told they actually have a really good chance of having a vaginal birth next time. Let's talk about what's standing in the way and how to overcome it. My name is Jamie, also known as your midwife bestie. I've been attending births for over a decade. The current C-section rate is 33%, so that means 1 in 3 healthy women will end up with a cesarean birth. And if you've had one, you've probably heard mixed messages about what's possible next. First, let's go over some terms and statistics. A trial of labor after a C-section is referred to as TOLAC, and a vaginal birth after a C-section is referred to as a VBAC. A TOLAC is an attempt and a VBAC is a successful vaginal birth after a C-section. Statistically, 60 to 80% of TOLACs are successful, resulting in a vaginal birth. This number can vary slightly based on birth location, be it hospital, home birth, or birth center. For women attempting their first birth after a C-section, this rate is typically 70%. For women who have given birth vaginally since their C-section, this rate is over 90%. Most women who try for a VBAC actually succeed, but here's the problem. Most people aren't even set up to try. So you may have heard that VBACs are risky, but what's the actual risk involved? The main concern providers have with women who have had a previous C-section is the incision site from the C-section will open in labor and cause a uterine rupture. Sounds scary, right? And it is a huge concern, but it's statistically very rare, happening in about 1% of births. This number goes up for labors that are induced, and it decreases for labors that start on their own. The thing is, repeat C-sections also carry risks. Scar tissue, longer recovery, complications in future pregnancies, etc. So choosing between a VBAC and a repeat C-section isn't about choosing a safe birth, it's about understanding relative risk. Just because your last birth didn't go as planned doesn't mean the next one won't. Birth is not just about your body and what you've done to prepare ahead of time, it also has to take into consideration the baby's position, the baby's size, and how that baby tolerates labor. New baby equals new variable and a completely fresh opportunity. So let's cover the 2 different categories for cesarean births. First is non-reoccurring reasons. This could be because the baby was breech, the placenta was covering the cervix, or genetic issues with the baby. These C-sections were most likely performed before labor even began. The second is labor-related reasons, such as failure to progress, big baby, or distress. A lot of these actually end up being position-related, but not always. And some of these are actually a failure of patience on your provider's end. A failed induction is not evidence of a body that is not capable of giving birth, but of a body that was forced to go into labor before it was ready. Now you have information we can actually use. The mental challenge of overcoming a C-section can go beyond a woman's own personal experience. Sometimes she has to overcome the narrative her family members have been told as well. Let's talk about generational belief. Once I walked into a labor and met a woman's mother, who was the spitting image of her, exact build. When I asked how her births went, she let me know that she only delivered by C-section because her provider let her know her pelvis wasn't built for birth. I'll be honest, that got in my head for a second. With the right support, her daughter went on to have a vaginal birth, and quite a few after that as well. The takeaway, your body is not your mother's birth story. The second story I want to share involves family pattern assumption. I worked with a woman who told me all of her sisters had C-sections, and it was assumed that she would need one as well. She worked hard, and with the right prep beforehand and the right support team, she was able to accomplish the vaginal birth she was hoping for. Family patterns are not guarantees, they're just stories. If you're planning a VBAC, let's start working on setting you up for success. Number 1, your provider matters more than anything. You don't need a provider who allows VBACs, you want one that fully believes in them. Be on the lookout for VBAC tolerant versus VBAC supportive behavior. If you feel any sort of pressure, that's a huge red flag. You'll hear things such as, "We don't let VBAC moms go past 40 weeks. That may not seem like a big deal when you're only 12 weeks along, but it becomes a huge problem as the clock is ticking. Deadlines create pressure, and pressure changes outcomes. Another red flag is if not all the providers in a practice support VBACs or hospital policies are limited. This could cause issues with unnecessary pressure as your due date approaches just to work around schedules and policies. If your goal is a VBAC, avoid unnecessary inductions. Protecting spontaneous labor is one of the biggest advantages you can give yourself. Do the work ahead of time to stack the odds in your favor. Prioritize movement in pregnancy, work on optimal positioning, line up the right support team, doulas, providers, supportive friends and family, and let labor unfold on its own. All of this is exactly why I'm big on having a realistic, well thought out birth plan. This is not a perfect birth checklist. It's a strategy tool that helps communicate with providers, set realistic expectations, and reduce unnecessary interventions. I've created a guide that walks you through exactly how to do this, and you can find it by clicking the link below. So let's recap the biggest hurdles when attempting a VBAC. Number 1, fear from a previous birth. This may involve some trauma and some strong feelings about the body failing. This isn't about proving anything, it's about understanding exactly what happened. The second challenge is unsupportive providers. Avoid providers who say things like, you can try, but, or give unnecessary deadlines, or make you feel a subtle sense of pressure. That's not support, it's liability management. Challenge number 3 before attempting a VBAC is overcoming misinformation. So when people are focusing on overestimated VBAC risk, also weigh risks involved with a repeat C-section. Having a vaginal birth after a C-section isn't about having the perfect birth, it's about having an informed birth. You're not starting from scratch this time, you're starting from experience. And with the right support, you may be a lot closer to that VBAC than you've been led to believe. If you're pregnant, hit the subscribe button now for more information on all things pregnancy, birth, and the postpartum period.